What if I told you there's a stimulant stronger than caffeine that can deliver insane energy and focus? Today, we're breaking down DMAA and DMHA, both very strong exotic stimulants. What are they exactly and how do they compare when it comes to the overall energy, experience, and side effects? Let's dig into it. You know all about stimulants and pre-workouts. There's caffeine, there's exotic stimulants, aerogenesis, but wait a minute. What is exotic stimulants and what's the difference between two of the most controversial hardcore stimulants out there, DMAA and DMHA? Both of these are considered to be much more powerful than regular caffeine. In fact, these two have been so controversial, they've been in and out of supplements over the past few years, but recently they've made their way back in. So DMAA was originally founded in the 1940s as a nasal decongestion, meaning it was clearing up noses. But of course, it came in the form of spray and it was a pharmaceutical. Of course, it was soon banned and they stopped using that after a couple of years, something like that. And then DMHA also used for a similar purpose where it was used as a decongestion. So both of these were initially introduced as pharmaceuticals back in the 1940s and 50s. They work much differently than just regular caffeine. So with regular caffeine, it basically stops you from feeling tired. You will literally just feel more awake, more alert. DMAA and DMHA are both very powerful stimulants and they're often compared to amphetamines because they're closely related in structure, but don't worry, it's not as intense. They're both designed for one thing, to increase adrenaline levels and to put yourself in a fight or flight mode. So it's very strong in that. So both of these are going to undeniably give you intense focus and energy. It's also going to have benefits for mood elevation and fat loss. However, there's a big difference between DMAA and DMHA. So let's start with DMAA. DMAA, literally the experience is super intense. If there was a graph of energy when it comes to DMAA, it goes from like this to up and sort of down pretty fast. But with DMHA, it starts good, right? And but the line is much more like this. And then on the way down, it's also much more like that. So with DMAA, it's literally it lasts a couple of hours. With DMAA, I would say it lasts a solid 4 hours. DMHA feels like it lasts longer. It's much more smooth. The mood elevation is there. It feels cleaner. With DMAA, it feels like a ball of anxiety and energy and jitters, and it's super intense. Depending on what other stimulants are combined with it, because usually both of these stimulants are combined with other stimulants. Depending on what they're combined with, the experience can completely change. Whether it's combined with GABA, like we've seen in dark energy, or just pure caffeine and maybe some yohimbine, like Jacked back in the day, a very controversial pre-workout, but the experience can completely change. As you can see, yohimbine makes like a very dirty energy kind of feeling, while ingredients like theanine, caffeine malate, and GABA can slow down the energy, can make you feel more relaxed. DMHA, there's more mood elevation, smoother energy. DMAA, bigger rush of energy, bigger crash, but more intense, and it puts you in a very elevated, energetic, awakeful kind of state. So these stimulants, sometimes also they're combined together, which is of course dangerous. When it comes to the legality of these ingredients, both of these are illegal for supplement use. So supplement companies are not supposed to put them in pre-workouts. However, there's a lot of loopholes, whether they're doing it from different countries and importing them to the US, because in the US, of course, it's illegal to have as a supplement dietary ingredient, but sometimes companies advertise it as other ingredient names, and sometimes they use these ingredient names and not even put the actual stimulant. So you don't actually know, because the supplement industry is hugely self-regulated. FDA is not out there stamping their approval on every pre-workout. They won't do that, especially not for high stimulant pre-workouts. So it's up to us, the reviewers, to test out these pre-workouts, and up to you guys as well. And by the way, this is a good time to mention you can get paid for your honest reviews on my website, fitfrick.com, where users can report what they feel, as well as reviewers with pre-workouts, whether it's legit or not. So a ton of loopholes, and different countries have different laws. Australia, it's banned completely. It might be illegal completely, but when it comes to possession, in most countries, you're allowed to carry these kind of stimulants, whether it's in pre-workouts or not. It's just up to the authorities what they do with it if they test it, because when they test it, that first initial test, whether you're being drug tested or they're testing it real quick, that initial test will test positive because it's closely related, as I mentioned, if you remember in the beginning of the video, it's closely related to amphetamines. So that chemical structure is triggering false positives. But when they do like a bigger test, a more in-depth test, which is more expensive, which is why they don't do it initially, they're going to find out, okay, this is not a illegal substance. And so the legality of it is as you can see, it's mixed. It's in pre-workout still, and depending on the company, they can either use different ingredient names or they can do it in a different country and import it to the target country. Lots of loopholes. So it's up to you guys and us to stay informed to see what companies are doing what and what ingredients you're putting into your body, which is why it's good to stay informed by hitting that subscribe button. But the side effects. So both of these stimulants, like any other stimulant, can increase blood pressure. It can also have cardiovascular effects, just depending on how much you have and your history. A good way to check your health while you're using these kind of stimulants is to check your blood pressure regularly to see if you have elevated blood pressure on a regular basis, whether you're using it or not, and to compare your results while you're using it every day, just to check your average, right? As well as your heart rate, because if you feel uncomfortable taking these kind of pre-workouts, take a step back, lower the dosage, or don't even take it at all, or take it less frequently. There's no completely safe guidelines when it comes to how often you should use it and when you should stop using it. It's literally up to your health and your symptoms and your history. Even caffeine can elevate blood pressure. So when you're combining these different stimulants, you're going to have more of an effect. But with DMAA, so when you go dosages above 70 milligrams, depending on what ingredients you're taking it with, you're going to have more of a risk for elevating blood pressure. DMHA, you can go a bit higher. It's up to like 200 milligrams, 300 milligrams. Of course, this is all like self-reported, not official. And then you'll start to notice or may have some elevated risk for blood pressure as well as heart-related risks. So that's why also some companies combine it with nitric oxide boosters like citrulline, agmatine, nitrates. Nitrates especially, they help with blood flow. They help reduce that blood pressure. That's why also, I don't want to go too off topic, but when you have low blood pressure, it's not a good idea to take pump supplements because then you can feel dizzy and lightheaded. So it's smart to take a nitric oxide booster to reduce those symptoms and to reduce blood pressure when you're taking really hardcore stimulants. And no, it will not change the experience. You will still have a great experience. It's just that you will have reduced side effects like blood pressure and stuff. But at the end of the day, check your heart rate, check your blood pressure, check with your doctor before you go on any kind of stimulant, because all this is based on my experience and based on my research. I'm not a doctor. The only thing I'm certified at is being a Stim Junkie pre-workout user since 2006, something like that. DMAA is very strong. DMHA is milder, but still very strong depending on the combination of ingredients. And both of these combined, of course, can get even more stronger and more dangerous just depending on the dosages. But of course, like I said, DMAA 70 milligrams or anything higher, you're elevating that risk for more issues. Same with DMHA, and you can decrease that risk. So if you're a beginner, I would recommend, if you're looking for like the next level pre-workout, DMHA is a good place to start. And if you're really advanced and you've had experience with DMHA, DMAA would be a good place to explore your options. But how often should you take these kind of pre-workouts? Honestly, it's hard to say how often, but I wouldn't recommend taking it more than twice a week, but that's just like being safe. I would have a regular pre-workout in between these stronger pre-workout days. And of course, tolerance can build up to these specific stimulants, not when you're taking caffeine. When you're taking caffeine, that's like a different kind of tolerance, but when you're taking DMHA and DMAA, you're gonna build tolerance to those specific stimulants. And DMAA and DMHA are closely related, so the tolerance could be tied to each other. But of course, the tolerance can be reset, or at least reset as close as possible to baseline after about, there's no exact timeline, but I would say between 1 to 4 weeks is a good place to start to explore how long it'll take for you to reset your tolerance, basically. But yeah, that's the comparison between these two stimulants based on my experience and based on all the research I've done. It's a very risky kind of world when it comes to stimulants and pre-workouts. It's all self-regulated, so it helps to stay informed and to keep an eye out for reviews from reviewers as well as people. And that's why I'm paying users once again on my website fitfrick.com for their honest reviews, regardless of how the review is. And you get paid through PayPal or gift cards for any store of your choice. So thank you so much for watching. If you want more information, let me know in the comments. If you want more videos like this, I can also go into how far the FDA went when it came to banning DMAA stimulant. They went as far as going up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, they had the FDA, you know, they had a case against high-tech pharmaceuticals, which is a big company that was making a lot of DMAA supplements back in the day. But basically, high-tech was arguing that, you know, there's more people that have more adverse side effects to vitamin C than their DMAA products, while the FDA was like, this is not a natural ingredient, and if it was a natural ingredient, then why isn't it found in nature? It was back and forth. They went all the way up to the Supreme Court. At the end of the day, the FDA did win, and the Supreme Court ruled banning DMAA. But of course, it's still in pre-workouts. Lots of loopholes around that, as I mentioned in the video. If you want to see more information, more videos like this, if you want to learn more about the history about these stimulants, as well, I'd be more than happy to go down and dive deeper into them. Thank you so much for watching.